Welcome, ladies and gentlemen. First of all, let me ask my panel, how y'all like that intro?
Good.
It was wonderful.
It's great. Awesome.
Very good. Very good.
Thank you. It took me all in about 2 minutes to do it, but I could have just lied and be like, it took me 20 minutes. It took me 3 days. But other than that, ladies and gentlemen, welcome to another edition, to another installment of Fade to Black. I am your host, Donnell Lamonte Morris. Welcome back, Alan Bragg, Beach Johnson, Anita Joe, aka Teach, and we have a very special guest. We're gonna call him Mr. O. Welcome to the show.
Thanks a lot. I'm grateful that you invited me.
Oh, most definitely. We are happy to have different walks of life on this show. Ladies and gentlemen, we don't discriminate here. Once again, I want to say this, that you're entering into our world. This is not a conversation. This is a dialogue. This is for you to just sit back and listen. And yes, we do want you to be a part of the conversation. But from our point of view, it's time for people to see what is going on from our world. So that's why we welcome you to our world. So for our guests, Mr. O, this is the thing that I'm going to start doing when we have guests, is that they will be starting with the opening statements. So let's go ahead and dive in. So, Mr. O,
yes,
this is the opening statements, and we're going to let you start off. You got 5 minutes to get whatever you want off your chest, and it could be pertaining to the topic or something you just really have to say to people for education.
Yes, thank you very much for inviting me. And it's a special time in the world and a special time in the history. And I think we are making history. And history will be the way we make it. In the 60s, when I was in the school in Nigeria, that was post-independence, there was a big movement of Pan-Africanism. And then came the voice of James Brown, I'm Black, I'm proud. I remember in the secondary schools in those days, we were made to understand, and we repeated it many times, the statement by Reverend Father Aggrey of Achimota College in Ghana. He said, man must be proud of his own color. One who is not proud of his own color is not meant to live. We were all shouting Black and proud because in Africa, we felt that there was some discrimination against Black people. We were hearing what was going on in the United States of America. We were hearing what was going on in South Africa while we grew. I was in Chad Republic in 1973 when the president of Chad, because France did not give independence to any country. No, they gave a conditional arrangement for the people to rule themselves, but France control it. So then the president Tubal Baye made a march on the streets, a protest on the street of Unjambena. Then they called it for Lamy, against the French. I was about few meters away behind the president of Chad in that very peaceful protest. Then we heard that Cape Verde Island declared independence and Portugal refused it. I went to the Nigerian embassy to submit my name that if young people were needed to go and fight in Cape Verde land to defend it, I was ready. We've seen a lot of things, but between that time and this time, a big change happened in Africa. A lack of leadership. When after they killed people like Nkrumah, Balewa, after those set of first presidents died away, sellouts became leaders in Africa. They became bootlickers. And this is what affected even blacks in the diaspora. As we exchange views today, I will possibly be confronting some of you. In my tribe, there is a religion called Ogenuku. They used to sing. They said, the witch that is troubling you is inside your house. The thief that is robbing you is inside your house. And I think black people, we need to be able to identify our enemies. If we cannot identify our enemies, we can never defeat them. We remain ridiculed by people from all over the world. I see images from India and I say, these people say they are better than us, from the Arab countries, from Asia. No, we are ridiculed because of what we did to ourselves. Let us begin from inside our house. Let us settle it first before we blame others. As regards pride, anybody can be proud of what he is. It doesn't bother me. Why? After all, I used to say I'm black and proud in the 60s. After all, I used to support the Black Panther. So anybody can be proud. But our problem today is, what do we do to improve our life? It is time we stop blaming others for our own woes and think inside, what have we done to be better? I stop for this meantime. Let us go on. I will have more to order. But I thank you for inviting me. Over to you, conductor.
Well, thank you so much for that powerful statement, sir. Teach, you're up.
Good evening, everyone. Welcome back. I understand that I have a fan, and I just want to tell you thank you. I speak power to truth, and if you feel the power, you know it is the truth. I want to talk about self-love and what that means for the individual, as well as what that means for the collective. When you love yourself and you love into yourself and love onto yourself, you build a structure that is the best structure that allows you to think, to analyze incoming data, to make decisions that would be in the best interest of yourself. And because of the drudgery of slavery and colonialism, the African, wherever he dwells, be it in America, be it in the South Americans, or on the continent, have an identity crisis. And that identity stems from the former oppressor. Now, we are a battered and a beat down people, but we have the recipe to help ourselves. And that is focusing and coming away from our oppressors' ways of life, coming away from our oppressors' assimilation. Assimilation says that I must sell out my soul in order for them to like me. You're seeking approval for someone that will never approve of you. So when you delve into self-love, that gives you self-determination, that takes you through self-identification and to a place of self-sufficiency. Now, my colleague spoke to the lack of leadership. Most of the leaders have gone to school abroad, being indoctrinated with the enemy's lessons, and have the lesson at home. There's a saying that says that culture is your first line of defense. And as a Pan-Africanist, it is my job to raise the level of consciousness to reinstill that self-love throughout the African genius. Because when we read history in the ancient societies of Timbuktu, Kemet, the sciences that are still boggling the mind of current day sciences of building the pyramids, and they're still boggled. They still cannot figure it out, because the African in its original genius, as we talked about on other shows, the African is the only man that was actually formed from the dust of the earth, where God put his hands on that man and breathed his breath into him. All other races come from that original African, but they did not have that opportunity where God actually breathed breath into them. So what I'm saying is this, that original African and that original untouched form, if we would go back to the gods of our ancestors and recapture, relearn, and relive what the original God had given us as instructions on this earth, we can come to a place of rising and going into a second glory. I say second glory because Africa once had a glory, and that glory is long past. But we here today, we have the tools, the seeds, the knowledge, and the right minds to plant and build in the Africana Renaissance that new glory. We're experiencing a paradigm shift. That paradigm shift that's shaking up the power structure at hand. We're witnessing it with our eyes. And like I said in the last show, in the next 25 to 50 years, those children will be able to tell us of that change, of how their society is different and far more harmonious than the society that we have today. We're witnessing the statues coming down. Am I at time? I'm sorry. You know I can go on and on. Okay. All right. I'll take it for the rest of the show. No problem.
I got you, Teach. I got you. Y'all know we love Teach. So that whenever I peek up, 5 minutes is up, and I want y'all to do the same with me too as well. So next one, you know who it is. Mr. Beast Johnson. Take it away.
Well, first off, good evening, everyone that's watching. Thank you for all the continued support. I want to talk about exercising your demons versus conquering your demons. When you exercise something, you banish it. You send it far away to another realm of consciousness. You literally take that entity and place it so far away that your mind no longer remembers it existed. But when you conquer something, you let it live. You allow it to remain where it is under the statute that is now under servitude of you. And we need to take that mentality and that knowledge and use it and apply it to what's going on now. As we look forward and as we move forward, we need to discern which of our demonic qualities need to be exercised. And by demonic qualities, I'm speaking of all this racist bullshit that we're dealing with versus demons that can be conquered and can be used for a more angelic purpose. It's a lot of shit within us as people, not just black people, as human beings, that we need to admit and we need to acknowledge. And once we acknowledge it, we can truly move forward. Now we have to do that as a people. We have to acknowledge our part, our wrong in this situation that we're in, so we can truly move forward. Because if we don't acknowledge what we did wrong, we will repeat the same things. And our children after us will repeat those same things because we didn't learn what we did wrong to avoid it. So please take a self analysis, the self assessment of who you are and what you need to do to better yourself and the things you truly need to get rid of that serve no purpose and bring no positivity or benefit to you. That's my time.
Thank you so much, Mr. Beach Johnson. Short and sweet as always. And then I'm finally happy to say this guy right here. Welcome back. The floor is yours.
Hey, good evening, everyone. Alan Bragg here, and for my opening statement, uh, and I had to take couple days away from the podcast only because I was feeling overwhelmed, not at about the show, but the everyday activities that's going on in the world today. I often get on different media, and I look at the content and the comments, which I had to take a break from. And I'll tell you why. Um, I believe people that have been seasoned and listen to other people, they tend to, we tend to listen to what makes us comfortable. I took myself out of the comfortable realm and I listened to different personnel and I read the comments and it just makes me sick to my stomach, actually, um, to see that some people are not trying to change. They don't want to change. They don't want to hear the other side. They don't want to acknowledge that there is something going on in America right now. Uh, they have their alternate facts, and that's what they stick to. And they tend to think that their alternate truth is factual, and it bothers me. I have to come to realization that I can't change people. I can only participate in shows like this, and hopefully people will be uncomfortable enough to watch our show and to be willing to be open-minded to what the other side has to say. um, Things have changed. Things have changed dramatically. The young people are leading this movement. um, Whether you agree or not with the organization of Black Lives Matter, I would encourage you to understand the movement of Black Lives Matter, because the movement is in my eyes is separate from the organization. You know, people have organizations and they can have their beliefs or whatever, but the words Black Lives Matter as a movement to me is powerful. And it's not saying that all lives don't matter. It's saying that Black Lives Matter also. So people really need to understand that. And the reason why people can't get that, I mean, I don't know, but that's one of the things that bothers me. And I'm reading a lot and I'm listening, and we don't hate white people. That could be farthest from the truth. So getting back to what I originally said, you know, it's okay to take a break away from things that's mentally draining. Don't let this time in this world get you down. Take a breather, take a break, get yourself together, and come back fighting even stronger, because it's going to be a role. It's going to be a whole lot of mental anguish, but you have to keep pushing forward for the next person. Be willing to fight, get in the trenches, and to make it right for everyone. We want equality for all, not just Black folk, but we want it to be equal. We don't want handouts. We want equality. I look forward to the show, and I know it's going to be a good one, and I thank you all for joining, and I'll give it back to the host.
Well, and I speak on behalf of the panel and people that have been rocking with us a long way. It's great to have you back, Bragg. It's great to have you back. You was missed. I'm gonna let you know that. So thank you so much.
Appreciate it.
Now it's my turn, and this one's gonna be a doozy. So, y'all remember David Goza, who was on the show a couple of days ago? He sent this to me. I am so sick and tired of seeing videos like this, where every time when somebody like me would say injustices or racism or anything like that, two things hit me. What about black on black crime? See, Black people who's in, athletes, they say, all lives matter and all this stuff. Those are two things that always be told to us when we're saying there's something wrong. So I wanted to play a little bit of this video, and I'm going to dissect it as we go along.
Or either a mindset that you can't or cannot. Yeah.
No, you don't. No, I don't. Hey, you and I, we're proof. Why would race have anything to do with it? Put your mind to what you want to do and go for that. It's kind of like religion to me. It's a good excuse for not getting there.
Where are we?
I'm sorry, Morgan Freeman. I wish I could have a voice like yours and just be the narrator of all movies. For you to sit there and say that just because you and Don Lemon are in the position that you're in, it proves that racism don't exist, that we don't talk about it. So if, knock on wood, if I have cancer, don't talk about it. Oh, it's going to be gone. Really? I would love to tell a cancer patient, hey, don't worry about it. It's going to be gone by, let's say, in about a week. Says no cancer patient that's right now probably in the grave right now, or he can barely even function. So for him to sit there and say that our privilege, for him for being a multi-million-dollar actor, out of privilege, that people who deals with it every day, Morgan Freeman, not only shame on you, you need to get smacked upside your damn head. I know you have to please the people, the directors that don't look like you, for you to get that role, or at least get the best roles that you can. But don't spit on us all at the same time by doing it. But then we got this one right here. The greatest rapper alive, Lil Wayne. And I'm here to tell each and every one of y'all, I'm not a big fan of his, not at all. Because right here shows you what type of person he is, but y'all still praise him as being the greatest rapper alive.
In the United States of America, in race relations, and what you see from day to day in your life?
Skip, they wouldn't want to ask me that. They wouldn't want my answer to represent it, because God knows I have been nothing but blessed. My whole path, these 33 years have been nothing but a blessing. I have never, and never is a strong word, I've never dealt with racism, and I'm glad I didn't have to.
And ladies and gentlemen, I'm just going to go ahead and take that video off. This is what happens. It's that individualism. This is what white people who don't want to understand racism, they know that it's going on, but then when we go in depth, we strike a nerve. And they go to examples like this to shut us up. Or they find people that look like us to come back and shut us up again. Like, look, I made it. I'm a multi-millionaire. Hey, look, I won 3 Super Bowls. Man, what you talking about? When I get pulled over by cops, I comply. But then when your moment happens, your nigga moment happens, now all of a sudden you want all the black community to come on your side. Because if I remember correctly, Morgan Freeman, did you have a sexual allegation that was pinned against you? Remember that? Hey, Lil Wayne, remember that gun charge you had? And then you had to go in jail and pick on the first prisoner that you see just to prove that you're tough? This man literally said the reason why racism doesn't exist, as you heard in the video, that he never experienced it, which I find that hard to believe coming from a poor part of New Orleans. Number one. Number two, you got arrested. I think it was a legal firearm. Correct me if I'm wrong. I'm probably wrong about that. But you got arrested. But just because you got away scot-free with the cops, that you got along with them, does not mean I'm going to get along with them. Or any of this panel or anybody else that looks like you had a great thing with the police. So white folks, let me tell you something. Stop using them people, for example, to shut us up. Because that's all you're doing. You don't even realize it. And some of y'all just know what you're doing. So stop. Because that's proven how racist, how overt racist you are. And that is my 5 minutes. So, ladies and gentlemen, y'all ready for today's show?
Yes, let's get it.
All right. Here we go, ladies and gentlemen. Time to get into the main story, because this one's hot. All right, ladies and gentlemen, the main story, white pride. So my quick question is going to go out to the floor, and anybody can take it. Is it just because they're really racist, or it's just a lack of knowledge? Anybody can take that.
Mixed bag. I think it's both.
I would like to start.
Go ahead, Teach.
White pride. We talked about this before. White pride is a system of survival. And I'll remind everyone of the 4 reasons why white pride, white supremacy even began. There were 4 reasons, and I'll go over them very quickly because I want you all to understand this. When the Europeans were in Europe, they were facing 4 critical issues that led to their vision of their mortality. They did not see themselves continuing as a race. Number 1, they had low fertility rates. They could not reproduce fast enough to fight off issues of sickness and disease. They were plagued with various, the bubonic plague, the yellow plague, and so forth and so on. And these plagues were taking out millions of people at a time. And then the third thing was the lack of food. They could not produce enough food to feed them. And then 4, they were warmongers. They fought amongst themselves, each tribal group fighting against the other. So when they came to Africa, they saw those 4 things being answered in the African, and saw the actual opposite. The African had high fertility rate. There was no starvation. There was plenty of food. They were peace-loving people. They were not warmongers. They did not utilize bloodshed as a means to resolve conflict, and they had peace. So these 4 things drove them to create a vehicle that would allow them to survive, because they're looking at their mortality. So to come up to date, what I want to talk about is the daughters of the Confederacy. You asked the question, is it that they just lack knowledge? I would say absolutely not, because it was, first it was the KKK, the Ku Klux Klan, that did a campaign called the Redemption. And what Redemption was a way to terrorize Blacks, to run them off the land, to keep them from being enfranchised in any form of fashion after the Civil War. All right. They made movies, also propaganda tools to instill in all whites that they should be afraid of, disenfranchised, and not allow the Black to get any type of foothold in America. So what arose was the United Daughters of the Confederacy. These is an offshoot group of the Ku Klux Klan. And what their purpose was to raise money, and they are the single organ that had the vision to do 2 things, well, 3. One was to preserve the heritage of the South, okay? That meant that they took over the textbooks and they created what was called the Lost Cause ideology. And then third, their purpose of erecting the statues. The purpose of erecting the statue was a way for them, in their mind, at that particular time, and if I can pull up a timeline, at the time that they began to organize and erect all the statues of all of the Confederate leaders and distractors from the Union, their purpose was to rewrite history and to teach the younger generations what the South once was, hoping that they would be able to regain what they go under the statement of states' rights. States' rights simply meant, it was code word, we want our slaves. As a state, we should be able to have our slaves. It's a great misnomer that people think that the Confederacy fought to free the slave, or the North fought to free the slaves. Abraham Lincoln utilized the Emancipation Proclamation as a tool of war. It was a strategy to destabilize the South. And that is what he did. And many people don't realize that within the Emancipation Proclamation, a few things that went on. One, the Emancipation Proclamation only freed the slaves that ceded the Union. That did not cover the slaves that were still in the North and the slaves that did not cede the Union. So it only covered those that ceded the Union and became part of the Confederacy. And then also the language within the Emancipation Proclamation dealt with the fact that if these slaves were freed, they must leave the United States of America, because he went on to write that he thought that this land was not for Americans. I mean, not for Black people, and therefore they would face certain hostilities. He knew his people. He knew that his people could not comprehend diversity. He knew that they would give him a hard time. And we have so many tracks in history to show that these free slaves were not given anything. If the laws were written, if there's free land, a Black man could not possess it. A Black man could not own it. A Black man could not buy it. So after slavery, we had no land. We had nothing to start with, no money, nothing, which brought us into debt peonage. But nevertheless, I want to touch upon the textbooks and the Dixie Daughters. Their purpose in the educational system, they were so strong and powerful that if any history textbook was written and it did not glorify the South, then that was, it was like a form of blasphemy, and that book could not be published, and it definitely could not be circulated within the schools. So they had the textbooks that talked about the Southern heritage and how it had to be preserved. And I believe, Bragg, you're in Tennessee, and Morris, you were in Kentucky with me. And that was my first time actually living in the South and dealing with people that understood, quote unquote, their Confederate heritage, and is deeply ingrained in them. It is not a misnomer. It is a fact that they are taught that they need state rights, which means that they want slaves. Even after I left the college, I went to work at a local company, and I worked with a lot of quote unquote Confederate militia, and they would sit around and talk about how they are going to start the next Revolutionary War because it is time for them to go into redemption. Remember, redemption means to take back the South and to reclaim the slaves. So the word on the ground is amongst these individuals is that it's our heritage. We're being denied of our heritage. How dare I go to work and work an ordinary job when I can be a slave owner and be a millionaire, and I will see the floor.
Anybody else want to? Alan Bragg, got anything?
Man,
yes,
teacher's on point, but I'm gonna let I guess Mr. O, he has something to say, so I'm gonna let him go so we can get into it.
Yes. Look, I disagree with our sister. First of all, you got history mixed up, and talking about African that have been brainwashed, you are wrong. Because if you're just going to YouTube and you see African youth producing films based on their traditions and culture. So on that, you are wrong. Respect to statues. Pulling down statues is not the solution. You don't wipe away history. You make history. We need new statues that tells us this was yesterday, this is today. That's what you should do. And I see that you are very embittered, and all you have spoken is based more on bitterness. It does not solve any problem at all. Really, you need to go back and research history. Do you think the first blacks in America were slaves? No. Do you know that the first person to enslave black people in the US was a black man from Africa? Do you know that during the War of Independence, many blacks owned slaves, white and black slaves in the South, carried guns to fight against the North? We need to do more researches. We need to do some soul searching inside ourselves too. We cannot base ourselves on bitterness. So I disagree with you. And the two brothers that spoke, I'm more inclined with towards towards their reasoning, their approach, towards the event of today. But really, history is too big to be resuming in 2 minutes. So we are doing researches. We are seeing what's going on. That our own people, you are talking about somebody, Africans have been in Europe for thousands of years and they were not slaves. Once it was the Arabs and some African leaders that even created this slave business with the Western world. We know what happened in our tribes. We know what they did. So if we have to blame anybody, we have to blame. How can one white man come and go into the jungle and carry hundreds of people and carry away? Why? No. We have to blame our traditional ruler. We are saying it. We have to blame those corrupt African chiefs that because one witch doctor say this one, they want to overthrow you and then carry people and put them, into the sea to enslave them. So we know blaming the white is not the solution to the problem. We really have to identify our enemies. We need a soul searching. We Africans, we were responsible. We did not defend our people. We did not protect our people against slave traders. Even to today, the Arabs are still selling Africans. 20 million black people are still enslaved in Arab countries. Africans are tied in a chain in Libya, and so black leaders in the US don't understand anything. In our own presence, they are enslaving black people. And then we think it's the white man. The white man is not the problem. The problem is in us ourselves. We have no say. We hate ourselves. We do not love our own. Racism is coming in all colors. Tribalism, religious discrimination. It's very human. So the thing, we cannot be the only victim because we shall be feeding those who laugh at us. We are part of the problem, and together we have to solve this problem. Look, I'm a tribalist. I love my tribe. Not that I hate others, but because I have a culture which is in me, which I like to protect. So I disagree with anything thinking that racism. What about Asians? In India, the black people who are in India, they are the majority, and they are discriminated against. In China, they are dealing with black people every day. The Arab country, in Iraq, in Iran, in the coastal side, you will see the remainders of slaves. 1,000 years ago, there was a black revolution in Iraq. They almost took over the whole of Iraq. Then the Arab countries all got together to quench that revolution. They are still slaves till today. Nobody has time for them. They are crying out every day, and we are not saying anything. And let us be just. Justice has no color of skin. Justice is blind, no gender. We have to stand for justice.
Gotcha.
Hey, I would like to jump in here to say that, he said justice is not blind. Well, we know that's the way it should be. You see the lady holding the statue, with the scales, we're supposed to be equal, but we know that that's not true. So I would ask Mr. O, what does he not believe that racism exists in America?
There are many errors. There are many evil in the history of mankind. What I'm saying is that let us build new ones, new statues that are bigger than the ones they were, but statue of freedom, of equality. That is what we have to build.
Yeah.
And that's why the old ones have to come down.
No. You don't remove the old ones. You don't remove the old ones. You build new ones.
Ideology.
No. Look. I say cruelty has been all over this planet, not only to black people, to white people too.
All right,
in India too. In Africa, there is cruelty. There's cruelty in India, in China. Look. It's a fact. What black people need in the US is not removing statues. Look, they need better family structure. The absence of fatherhood is one destroying the black people in the US. Africans come from Africa to the US. They study. They are the most educated in the US. Many of them are making like they make money. I mean, is it not the same? Are they not black?
Point of correction. Point of correction. The Africans that come to the US.
Look, these feminists, they are the ones that were used to destroy the black family in the USA. They kick their husband out and live on social security. Casey. That is the silence the women. Look, build back a patriarchal family. Let the father be there, and he will take the child to school. That is what Africa means.
All right, so
don't mix up the thing.
Yeah, so let me jump in. So be sure before I go ahead and jump in, be sure what you got to add to that, because I see that you was over there about to say something.
Yeah. Now, with respect to the statues and the self-acknowledgement, I actually agree with them. I'm a fervent believer that we all have to acknowledge our part in every situation, the good and the bad. Whether you had good intentions and good actions, it can still lead to a bad ending, even if it was beyond your control. So we have to acknowledge our part in it. And for those that need to educate themselves, I personally suggest that you get the book "Things Fall Apart" by Chinua Achebe. And a lot of things Brother O is over here preaching about are vividly and descriptively put in this book, and it shows you that long before the white man even popped up, the issue of slavery and the presence of slavery was already an established factor within the African continent.
Correct.
The real issue that black people have is that I feel like is that we mad at the white man because we started it. Let's own up to it. Yeah, black, but it was more off a military sense of prisoners of war, conquered individuals, random people that you might find, on the side of the roads and in your travels. These individuals end up becoming indentured slaves / servants. White people saw it and then figured out how to make money off of it, business off of it. That's what our real issue is with them. We don't want to admit that, black people had some slaves. Well, that was just America. No, it goes back. It does go back further than that. He is right. Historically, he's right. So we have to own up to that. We have to acknowledge that.
All right. Now, Teach, you was about to add something on to that. Go ahead.
Yeah, I just wanted to just to emphasize that yes, blacks did own slaves, and the history in the U.S. If my father, for instance, was a slave and he paid and worked and he became emancipated, he could buy me. He would own me and give me my freedom. So it is not a mystery that blacks own slaves, but in what capacity? And there were many plantation owners, as well as Native Americans did own slaves, but they were not in the majority. Okay. And as far as I know, there has not been one Native American family that has been pinpointed today with the legacy of owning slaves and still have that wealth. But yet we can pinpoint specific families in the U.S. that own slaves, and they're still in business with the wealth of those slaves. So we look at the majority. Also, I want to make the point, as far as slave owning in Africa, the difference really is that in Africa, if you were a slave, there was a way for you to work up, move out of that position and go into normal life. In chattel slavery, what we talked about last week, under the Dom Diverses, once you became a slave, You stayed a slave until you died. There was no upward mobility. And I want to correct you. You say this to me many times, that I speak out of bitterness. No, I speak out of facts. I speak. I don't have to Google anything. I've been in the archives. I've researched the daughters of the Confederacy, and this is their mission. If you Google the daughters of the Confederacy, you can see what their mission was. It was their mission to erect these statues because the war veterans were dying off, and they wanted to make sure that before the last Confederate soldier died, that they had a memorial in place, and that they regulated the textbooks to teach this particular heritage of their history. That is not my emotion. That is not bitterness. Those are plain cold hard facts. And this is how they operate in the United States. And I find that people that live outside of the United States fail to see that component. And what we were talking about earlier with the film clip with Morgan Freeman, Black people are industrious. We claim making the United States what it is. We have taught as a race, we have taught the world how to be diverse. We push that envelope when it comes to housing, where the laws, the restrictive covenants on the law says that a white man cannot sell land to a Black man or to a Native American for that fact. But it was the African American that went to court and had that law overturned and stricken down, that anyone coming to the United States can now live in neighborhoods that was once forbidden. It was the African American that pushed the envelope of diversity that opened up for all races on education. And it was during Black Reconstruction when we first began to elect our first Black statesmen, governors, lieutenant governors. It was these men that wrote the policies for public education, because before the Civil War, only rich white children could go to school. But with the new legislation with the Black governors, they opened it up for one, poor whites, all African Americans, as well as the Native Americans, as well as the Asians. So it is the history and legacy of the African American that have pushed the envelopes of diversity, pushed the envelopes of removing the restrictive covenants in terms of land, remove the barriers to education, and Brown versus the Board of Education that covered K through 12. But then there was another case that another law that restricted higher education. We went to court and we fought those battles that now Blacks, Asians, Native Americans can attend any college or university of their choice. We have done our work. We stand proud on our accomplishments. We understand that this is a race, and it's a race to the top. We understand also that there are obstacles that other people do not face, and we raise our voices and we make the change. And every time we make the change, be it the civil rights movement that brought forth the Civil Rights Act, where our government, led by Lyndon B. Johnson in 1964, the Civil Rights Act that said we, the United States government of America, will no longer practice racism and give African Americans, Native Americans, no matter what your religion or creed, no matter what your sex, we will not discriminate against you. That was a big statement for our government to make. because up until that time, our government, the private people, practice racism. You may not have been in a country where racism is a practice. It is a practice here. And we try to move into a post-racial society. But that's where you come with systematic racism. Systematic racism says that I, Anita, go and get my PhD, but systematically, because I never worked as a professor, or my race never worked as a professor in a university, that I won't hire you. That is systematic racism. Am I qualified? Yes, I have the PhD. I have the teaching experience. But actually, I don't want to, I was just going to make a few points, and I know I can get long-winded, but we have to understand racism does exist.
Yes, it does. And
we're just fighting against it. That's all.
Yeah. So
that's it.
So Mr. O, I see that you were patiently waiting. So what's your rebut to that?
Listen, I'm very much aware of the great contributions of Black people to the greatness of the United States, especially in science, in mathematics. You know, I'm very, very aware. What she's not, they were able to do it. What she's just said now, she's contradicting. If they were able to win such battles in the court, then you cannot accuse such a society as being racist. The thing is that Africans were great in the US. They built family. They were industrious. They were enterprising. Then what happened? What happened later? I see the video of Louis Armstrong, of some of the 20s, of the 40s, of African, of Black pubs. When you see the joy in their face that even provoke envy in any white man or any Asian. Then what happened? From the 1960s, what happened? The Black child has no education. So what we have to focus on is where our enemies is. African child does not see his father. That is the problem we have. It is time we rebuild the African American family. That is where our problem is. Racism exists. I said,
let me jump in there, sir.
We can fight it, but we can fight it with education. But with illiterate, you can't fight it. We need education for the Black community.
All right.
I agree with everything you're saying, but main thing we have to acknowledge is there's no one focal point problem that we can address and solve. It's a myriad of issues that we all need to bring to the table. Education is one. Family is another. You are correct. Now to respond to Teach and to you with regards to the statues and the systematic racism, I want to go back to my opening statement about exercising demons and conquering demons. Those statues, those racist constructs that have been put up, those are demons that can be conquered. We can keep them up and raise up the new generation.
That's it, brother. That's what I'm saying.
I understand that this happened because I look at Black Wall Street. I look at what happened in Philly. I look at Rosewood. These are 3 cities and areas that were completely destroyed purposely. The purposeful intent was to wipe this area off the mind of the world. We were not supposed to know about it. But history has shown that we know about it. So getting rid of it will not ensure that it will not happen again.
Right.
We have to acknowledge that this shit happened. And if we want to avoid it happening, we need to be better than the people that came before us.
Yeah.
Let me jump in here.
Mhm.
I shared that video. I told you to go watch, and my dear friend Casey Smith is on here as well, and she's watched that video. But that professor talked about, or the lawyer, I'm sorry, talked about why these statues was put in place in the first place. They wasn't honoring these so-called heroes of Confederate War, the Civil War, and that was in the Confederacy. They didn't put those statues up right after the war. They put those statues up, most of them in the South, as recent as 1970. So the statues were put there as I guess a reminder that racism, she talked about Cold War earlier. So those statues, I don't believe should be there. I just think that, I know some people say, it serves, they don't bother them, but I truly feel like those statues need to go away because
I
it's just,
agree
because
it
they're not, who are we trying to honor? These people who had slaves, or these people who fought in the Confederacy, in the Civil War was lost. So, why are we honoring these people? For what
But that's
reason? Why are they up there?
to quote you, Mr. Bragg, we're controlling the narrative.
It's not a
As
honor.
we spoke on this at another podcast, and I suggest, okay, if white people, if you racist folk really want these things up here, we're going to set them up on the plantations that you already keep up in pristine order. You're going to place these things, and you're going to make these like tolerance monuments, like you do for the Jews and other races that have gone through genocide. Like they have the little tolerance mosque for the Muslims. We need to set one up for us. We have a civil rights one down here in Greensboro, but we need something for all blacks for slavery. These and information like that you just spoke on, that needs to be key points and starting points. The origin of these statues were put into place as symbolic messages towards blacks. They were put here to originally keep us in line.
To terrorize.
So let me go ahead.
All this information needs to be put forth, but by, like I said, by destroying
and
all you're doing is forcing people to go underground.
Along with the
Go ahead, Alan.
Along with the Confederate battle flag, along with the Confederate battle flag, they use that as a symbol to terrorize and to wave around to show their white supremacy strength. Just here at Fort Campbell, Kentucky, I guess it was a week or so ago, you had a white soldier who stopped a black soldier and said, "Hey, you can't have Black Lives Matter on your vehicle." And so, he's like, "You're in uniform, you can't display no kind of political whatever." But yet the white soldier had a Confederate flag pinned up in the roof of his car. He's like, "Well, how come I can't have Black Lives Matter on my vehicle, but you got a Confederate flag?" That how that work? So it's just the mindset that people have that they can do whatever they want to do.
Listen, we need that downright outlaw it. Donnell's homeboy Dan, I spoke about how they do in Germany when it comes like everything is outlawed. And you can't do so much as a goose step or throw your arm up in the air like it looked like the Nazi salute. You'll get arrested.
So
we need to take that approach, that ban it. If you so much as get caught with that thing, that's at least 2 to 3 years in jail.
Yeah,
there should be only one copy, and that should be at the Tolerance Museum. That should be the only copy in history of the Confederate flag, and we keep that there to remind people that this shit happened.
All right. So
anybody got another copy? Nah. It should be
Right.
it should be outlawed.
So let me go ahead and just wrap this part of the segment up. And yes, everyone, y'all, what y'all said is true. To Mr. O, to Mr. Bragg, to Teach, and also to you, Beast Johnson. But let's not forget that remember that crab in the barrel mentality. That barrel right there is and people don't talk about the barrel. They always talk about the crabs. Let's talk about the barrel. Why are we sitting here saying, father's not in the household? It's great that the statues are going down. That's great and fine and dandy. But look that we're confined in this thing, this bucket, white supremacy that we are surrounded by. We cannot forget that, because I think we go on a tirade when we go to us, but we forget that we're confined in this area. So not only just for us, but everybody who's watching right now, we can sit there, we can point to fingers at us saying that it starts with us, it starts with us, it starts with us. That's just half of it. The other half is, while we pointing at each other, we should be pointing at these walls in this confined space that we've been placed here, and start to be like, hey, we need to do something about this. Yes, we need to organize ranks, but remember, we was put here. So obviously, we're going to blame each other rather than blaming the system that put us in this space. So going on to the next segment, I believe the last one that we did, I don't think Bragg was here. We actually did it with Miss Duckworth was here. Hopefully she's doing okay, by the way. I would say something. I would say a phrase, and you would tell me what's the first thing that will come to your minds. So, and that actually got a lot of great reviews. So I'm gonna go ahead and start that with y'all right now. So the first one, and I did my notes. Look at my book. First one is, it is based on this topic, obviously. A lot of white people are being exposed. Anybody can take the floor on that one.
Inevitable. First word come to mind. This was bound to happen.
I would say not only white people, all people are being exposed for their position. All people are being exposed, but mainly them in this situation.
Don't spoil it. You already said it's all. Lord, see, I'm an applied mathematician. I said all. Because when we begin to look for whole, then we are becoming racist. You see, we are the origin of mankind. We also are to be blamed for all the problems of our descendants. So let us stand upon a more just position, that it does not have to do with color of skin. Let us all be on board. Look, I studied in an all-white university. So, my experience is different. So, with Japan, so when mathematics come on board, it is then you know how human beings are leveled. That is when some whites know more than you, and you know more than others, then your view is different. So let us not begin to say, that is his feeling, as long as he does not step on my shoe. If he steps on my shoe, I will hit him, not because he's white, but because he stepped on my shoe. If he wants to feel superior, that is his own problem. I'm not inferior to anyone. So white supremacy, if it's a feeling, they have right to their feeling. But let us educate our kids. Look, in 100 years, look, already we defeat them in sports. So let us load them in the academia. In 100 years, since we change, all these things will die away. First of all, let us, in the black community, promote the black community in education, in family, first of all. And that gives them, our children, a better base. In future, the world will change. All these so-called supremacists, they will disappeared. I used to say black and brown. Since James Brown taught us to sing it in the 60s, nobody's singing it anymore. Maybe because they don't feel it anymore. So this white supremacy it will not last 10 years. If we do our work well, let us begin from home. Let us begin from our community. So that when we see a black family, we are proud of black family. Father, mother, children. That is what we need to focus on for the meantime. As for
I believe that's one of the points.
Religions or tribal slogan, it's individual. It doesn't bother me. It doesn't bother me. I'm not inferior to anyone.
How about you, Brad?
So,
what's your
the word I come to mind is bigot.
Yes.
I do understand what Mr. O is trying to say, but I slightly disagree for the simple fact that the dynamic of the black family, you have a lot of fatherless homes in the black community because of systematic racism. We know that a black man was going to prison for a way longer time for crack cocaine versus a white man going to jail for having cocaine.
I know that. I know that.
So, the black communities were over policed, put in bad situations, stop and frisk, you name it, and they, you putting fathers away. So of course there's going to have a dynamic on how the black community, these young boys don't have fathers at home, so they turn into gangs and they're turning to other aspects of violence or whatnot because, and nobody says just because of a mother, a child can't be successful just because they got one mother at home. There's some strong black women out there that's raising some great young men. But the problem is, overall, you have it's systematic racism. I don't care how you look at it. It's out there. Black people wasn't getting loans out there to get that house or whatnot that they could have had in the white neighborhood. They were, things have changed on paper as far as the laws, but that's not to say that you didn't have racist people.
That I understand very well. I understand that very well. There's one group called the Black Star Project in the US. I'm a member. And I'm happy that they focus on educating boys. So I understand that is the trap they set. And that is what also the UN, the NGOs of the UN do. That is how so they destroy many families in the third world. So it already, we know it, but now how do we solve it? Today we need solution. What you said is very true. The CIA introduced drugs into black families in the US. I'm well informed about all those things. But today, look at where we are. What do we do?
Yeah, right. What do we do? But you can't say that it's a black problem.
Education is inside. Let us look inside, organize ourselves inside.
Right.
No,
right. But it's not just, you hear a lot of white people say, well, fix your own community. We can't fix our own community. We live in a white America. We live in America where we have to have the resources from the government in order to help our people. So it's not just a black problem because the black
no. I agree with you. But the results America is a capitalist country. So what we need is investment in black community for them to have jobs, for them to have trade, for them to be able to participate in the economy. That is what is needed.
It's not that, because all that is available, like Mr. Briggs said, all that is available. That's in law. That's written on paper. That this stuff is available now, because there's a human factor in it. The access to it has always been an issue.
Yes, that's what. Then we should fight that. That is the point we should fight for better access.
That's what we're fighting right now.
That's what we've been doing.
That's what we've been doing.
Let me go ahead and interject, y'all. Y'all have
that is the fight. The thing that I want to bring up, if you're not familiar with, the United States government in 1965 put out the Moynihan Report. And what the Moynihan Report did, this was the first study since Africans have been on this soil to look into the psychology of the African. And this is 1 year after the 1964 Civil Rights Act. All of a sudden, I mean, if you look at it from 1964 to 1965, now they want to study the psychology of the Black family. And basically, to sum up the report basically said that the Black man is absent from the family, and therefore the female is left on her own, and she's producing children that are derelict, lack education, they just falling through the cracks. But I want to have you know and understand, despite that report, all Africans, Americans were not raised in the ghetto. All African Americans don't have or come from single family homes. There are people getting married, all right, and having family. So what the propaganda that they put out there is used to destroy the image and the efforts that we put forth. Because if we want to argue that George Floyd that just got killed, and his daughter now does not have a father. So what can we do? Can we raise him from the grave because she's a little girl that does not have her father? Her father got killed because somebody had a vendetta against him. So which fathers are you talking about? The dead ones from the police killings?
No,
or
the one
dead
that
ones from
the one you sent to prison. The one you sent to prison because of the social security allowances you get. This that's what we talk. Don't cover that up. Anybody can die anytime. So no.
Social security allowance. No, here's the reason why you have brothers in jail, and I can speak this from a personal standpoint. The reason why you have access of brothers in jail is, as a Black American, you have these options. On the legal side, I can work a legal, moral job. You know, it makes me feel good about myself. I don't feel like I'm demeaning myself, but I'm not going to really get the hours or the pay or a combination of both to really survive. So I'm going to need multiple jobs of that caliber to truly survive. Now, I can compensate that with what the government deems as illegal, or what we just call as hustling. And that's any money that is not taxed by the government. Now, I could do that, but then I also run the risk of getting caught by the government or the government officials and having to do jail time and thus losing my legal money. So it's a slippery slope and a tightrope that we as Black Americans have to walk every day, and you learn that, and that's part of the systematic racism that we here have to deal with. The reason why you have so many brothers out there is because you're put into a situation through the systematic racism that leaves you with either more options on the legal side, and that requires begging, or options on the illegal side, which would mean a shortened freedom.
See, and I was about to come in and interject to go to the next segment, and I was getting ready to say those two words: systematic racism. Once again, everybody's making great points, but once again, don't forget, look at what we got to play with. Look at the space that we're confined to. We can point to each other all day, every day, but look how we got into the situation. Look at what we got to play with. It's just like, knock on wood, no pun intended, prison. You're going to fight the people that you're going to see almost every day and think that they're the problem, but you're not thinking like, how in the heck, number one, can we get out of this? Number two, how can we pull it together? Number three, how can we get in power to make the rules, to change the rules?
Well, to use your analogy, the issue we have right now is that little hole that the 1%, you know, I made it, so you can make it. That little
So
hole at
you
the
can
bottom,
make it,
you know, yeah, they over time, it just used to be one at a time. Now you start to see 2 or 3 at a time. Now about half a dozen. Now about a baker's dozen. They're coming out in more droves now, and the structural integrity of said systematic racism is weak. We've hit it at all the strong points. It's on its way out. So what we have to realize and what our goal is right now, and where we're at is go ahead and put that proverbial nail in the coffin of this barrel.
Right.
Let's finish hitting these little weak spots. We've already hit it from this spot. Yeah, you can get out there, but now we got cracks in the mid-level. Now we got cracks over the top so people can actually climb over and just fall out. Now we got all these extra cracks in the middle. Now we've attacked it from the top. We've attacked it from the bottom. Now we're attacking it from the middle. And because we did it from both ends, where you're starting to see more damage, you're starting to see more progress. So we just need to keep forward with what we're doing.
Right. All right. So, which lead me to the next. Go ahead, Teach.
I was just going to say very quickly that we have to really push the idea of education, not to the point of getting a job, but to the point of creating a job. I think that kind of holds us in place, because you have so many graduates saying, hey, I have a degree, but I can't get hired. And they may go 5-10 years and then start working anything because, you know, time is of the essence. They need to have a livelihood for themselves, but they're not thinking, how can I take this degree and create work? And I think that's where we may fall a little short in America. In other countries, because jobs are scarce, everybody is an entrepreneur. Everybody is in business for themselves. So it's a totally different dynamic. We go and get educated and think, okay, well, we're going to go to XYZ company and work for them. I understand they have good benefits and blah, blah, blah. But we never think, or I won't say we never think, we don't think as quickly, I'm getting this degree because I want to be in business for myself, because I want to be able to generate my own income. I want to be able to hire other qualified individuals in my family and or in the community. So thinking one way, getting a job helps your household, but creating a business helps a community. And I think we have to train or get it into the mind of how to situate yourself in business.
I agree. That's a national issue. I agree. That's something we all need.
Welcome, Anita. This is what I want to hear from you. That is the thing. You see, this education, no, that is the problem. Undergraduates all over the world. But what you just said, that is what you should hold on. Forget about training that statues. What you should move on now is education that allows you to create, to be creative. Because that's what I'm doing. You know, that is the point. In 10 years, you will see the change. Leave the statues alone. Build a human statue. Our, education. Education that helps you to be entrepreneur. Many from Africa came to the US and they're millionaires. African Americans can do more because they are native. You see, let them go trade that will make them, self-employed, and then we should trust our own and encourage them. Yeah. That is the thing. Welcome. Now you are saying what I want to hear.
Now we go into.
Well, I said it in my opening statement. Self-love brings self-determination, brings self-identification, that brings self-sufficiency. That was my opening statement.
Yes, self-reliance. That is the thing. That is what Black community needs. That is what we need. And you see, it will grow like in Tulsa before they destroy it.
All right, so let's go into the next The next phrase, and what's the first thing that comes to your mind? Many say they're colorblind and that they don't see race.
Those are individuals that have no personal attachment to God.
They are lying. They are lying. I'm not.
I'm
They
using
are
the
lying.
blunt one. Appreciate
I'm not
Brother Earth for being the
colorblind.
blunt one. I was gonna be eloquent about it, but yes, they lie. They lie to themselves. They lie to everybody.
They're lying.
Yeah. To
Because
say
I
that
am
you were
at, you know,
colorblind,
I
to
saw
say
with
that
my
you were
eyes. My
colorblind at this
whether white or
point
black,
is
they are
that's
liars.
that's
They are
I'm a big
deceivers.
dude. I'm a big dude. That's like me walking around here talking about some. Yeah, I take these pants in a 27 slim. Come on now. I sound
Yeah.
stupid saying it right now. That's the same feeling that people should have when they, oh, I don't see color.
Don't mind them.
I guarantee you, if I sucker punch you in the face right now and run, the first thing you're gonna tell somebody is a black man with dreads just punched me.
He's online. Yes.
So once again, it goes back to the point. You have no personal connection to the issue. Until you get personally invested, you're gonna spout out bullshit like that.
It is so all over the world. If a white man in Nigeria hits a black man and run away, then we say it's a white man that was here. Oh, no, forget it. It's human. Or it's a fat person, or it's a slim person, or it's a tall person, or it's a short person. No, we all see, unless we say we don't want to see.
Exactly.
I would say, one, that person was in denial, and two, I would never want a crime to be committed near me because they could not give an accurate description. And then three, if you don't see color, you can't see me.
Yes.
Now you may be colorless. I can see you saying, I look at myself and I don't see any color because you had a lack of melanin. But when you see me, you see color. I am filled with it. And it's just a psychological phrase to massage your mind if you're weak to that type of psychological ploy, because plain and simply, that's part of that post-racial indoctrination. You don't see color. We're all one society, blah, blah, blah. You see color when that job applicant sends in their application and her name is Sharquisha and you put it in the trash. You saw color.
Yeah,
okay?
You see gender too. You see gender too, not only color. You see gender also. Yeah,
right.
It's human. It's human.
So I really, that's just a fake posturing. That's just like they say, well, I have one black friend.
Yes, yeah.
Wow. One? And I mean, seriously, it's time for, like I said in the last show, they were facing their mortality. But as this date, 2020, they should realize they have mastered their fears. They're not going to starve to death because we have an agricultural system that produces food. We don't war on this land. They still have problem with infertility, but nevertheless, they have conquered survival. And they should realize and begin to accept and make the change that we can all live together in peace in this America. And not continue to be selfish, but really stand behind the words of the founding fathers that said, we the people. We the people really means the Africans, the Asians, the Native Americans, and so forth and so on, those that find themselves as citizens immigrants on the soil. They should be able to live up to the ideals that they're actually pushing on other countries.
You see, no, I agree with you. That I have no problem with that. You know, that's all we. That is what we're talking about. We, even when we hold our blackness in our heart, we also say we. So that others too can say we. So that the white man can say we, the Asian can say we. We need to use the word of all of us together.
Well, they need to mean it, because the change is not on us. The onus of the change is on them. They are the ones that are perpetrating this travesty.
We also are part of the problem, and we all have to be part of the solution. Let us not base it on color of skin. No, because look, let us not go into detail. Let us carry the flag of we, all of us together.
That's what we've been trying to do. We've been trying to have equality. We've been trying to have the same rights as others, but they have not given it to us.
I understand.
So when we say Black Lives Matter, they say all lives matter. We're not saying
I say all lives matter. Let us fight in there. Because let us not turn ourselves to be victims. Rather, to be champion of it, to be part of the solution. Let us say we.
But we have to start from a foundation. We have to fix the problem before we can go on forward.
But brother, when we say Black Lives Matter, we talking about all the races. If we talking about now when you spoke on saying we earlier, as in Black Pride, when we show love, we. So let's speak on the human race. As the human race.
That's it. That is it.
As the human race. We as the blacks are suffering in the department of unnecessary death. So yes, all lives matter, but all lives matter will truly mean something once we've proven that Black Lives Matter. Once we've shown and everybody behind us, well, as we said, Black being the oldest, whites being the second born, everybody behind the second born is in line with the oldest. So we just trying to get the second born being the white race in line to understand that. We as the human family, we will all matter. All our lives will matter when you stop fucking with us and getting us in trouble and killing us for unnecessary shit. Once you start doing that, then your statement, all lives matter, will truly mean something. Now, yes, it does happen across other lines. Yes, that happened. Black on black crime, that's bullshit, because that's just crime. That's crime within your particular ethnic origin. You got Armenian on Armenian, Albanian on Albanian, Czech on Czech. It's insert your nationality.
Italian on Italian.
So yeah, exactly. So for you to point out black on black is just ignorance. So let's go ahead and dead that right there for anybody watching. You stupid if you think that, and if somebody say it around you, call them stupid.
If you don't see my color, then you don't understand my struggle. So you got to understand where I'm coming from, where you have to understand my dynamics in order to acknowledge me. So you have to see my color. And if you don't, then how in the world are you going to understand where I'm coming from? You don't, you know, so that's, I can go on about that, but go ahead, Monty.
I just want to do a shout out real quick. I'm going to shout out Smith over here. She's cracking me up over here. She's just, I don't know if y'all see the comments, but she is just a poster and also person.
I've been checking her comments. Over there.
Yeah, she's been commenting. They both in the race for the MVP of the show. So I'm just letting y'all know.
Casey got it right. Got my vote from the first question when she was like, "Oh, we were like, how do you feel to expose the white people?" She was like, "Good, LOL."
Yeah. So that was a big deep dive. So my take on that is because I had that said to me plenty of times.
I think
I
every
wish,
black person has had that said to them.
yeah,
Every black American at some point has had that said around them, if not directly to them.
Definitely in the South. So I'm happy once again. I thank Teach for, she was the one that really like stopped my foot. Like, have you looked yourself in the mirror lately? She didn't say it like that, but that's how I took it. But but for me to go back on those days and wish that I had the knowledge now then to let that person know, like, okay, I understand that you don't see color, but you're not validating what I go through on a daily basis. We could be friends. We can, you can rock me the hard way. But if you don't see that by me just walking or taking a breath, that could be my last day on this earth. And not to forget, I could have a family. What I'm going to say to my wife, what I'm going to say to my kids. And I have to have that talk with my kids. I'm going to have to sit there and have to tell them they have to be careful when they get pulled over. I know Bragg had to have that talk. I know Beach Johnson had to give that talk or had that talk. I know Cheech, I know you had that talk and you had to give yourself to your kids and had to tell them like, hey, baby, it's not all, roses and candies. And I know, Mr. O, you probably had that talk with your kids, even from where you from, where you had to sit down there and you had to give them that talk. But the simple fact is, for anybody who's a different race that's watching this show, by you saying that, you're not making the situation great. You're not making the situation better. It's basically throwing a freaking block of ice in a raging fire, thinking that it's going to do something. It's not going to do nothing.
Not making yourself look good. Even if you're not racist, even if in your heart of hearts, you support and like you one of them behind the scenes type of people.
Yeah.
Like you do what you need to do, but you in the backdrop. Even if you one of them folks, saying shit like that does not make you look good.
Right. And so
it can be a detriment to the work you're actually doing.
Right. So if like I said, this is not a conversation, just a dialogue where you should be sitting back. Your questions that you should be saying to your black friend, it's like, what do I don't understand? I'm here to listen. I'm here to keep my personal, feelings aside because honestly, to tell you the truth, I don't know.
The only two questions a white person can ask, honestly, every white person is not racist for you to ask these two questions. Help me understand this, or is it racist this? That doesn't make you racist. That makes you honest and inquisitive.
Right. And there's nothing wrong with that. There's nothing wrong with that. I was talking to Dan on Wednesday after the show, talking to him for a little bit. And me and him go way, way back. He's already like 10 steps ahead of me. He already know the deal. He sat down and he listened. He already know. I mean, we need more people like when Goza was on the show, when he said, Morris, I will have your back for whenever. And don't be afraid to ask the question. And I think that's where they slip up, when they don't ask the question because they're afraid that we're going to get mad. No, we're not going to get mad at all. But we're getting too much on because I got another one for y'all. I hope y'all ready. I hope Mr. O, hope you ready. Mr. Bragg, you ready? Teach, you ready? Beach Johnson, you ready?
Ready.
All right. Shut up and dribble.
Bragg, you go first because you the sports head.
We've been entertaining America for quite some time. They use us for entertainment on the big screen in the gymnasium and all that kind of stuff. It's kind of like that's all we're good for. It's just to dribble the basketball or shoot the hoop or entertain them, tap and dance or whatever, shuck and jive. We're more than that. We have a voice. And when you say shut up and dribble, that tells me you don't value our input, our intellect, our value our lives, because you know we can always have a point, but you don't have to be disrespectful to us. LeBron James, you know, the shut up and dribble, she said that to LeBron about LeBron James. You know, he's done a hell of a lot for the community. And it's respected by a lot of people, both black and white. So, you know, just be cautious of how we treat others. You know, shut up and dribble. We're better than that.
It goes deeper. To me, it's just, it all boils down to the blanket term of get out my face and go do what I need to do. Because it goes extremely deeper. But when we hear things like shut up and dribble, we automatically think the quote unquote upper echelon niggas, the entertainers, the ones that made their money off of the skills. But for us that have to labor and toil with our hands and still get out here and do it, we still hear that term. But we don't hear shut up and dribble. We hear shut up and do your job. We hear shut up and insert whatever your occupation is. Yep. So that's just a blanket term. Or we hear things like, do you want to keep working here? All these phrases all boil down to get your black ass out of my face and go do what I need to do. Because that's all we think as a means to it.
And when they say shut up and dribble, you know, I also, in flip side, they say, well, he's making millions or she's got all that money. They shouldn't be complaining because they already, you know, it's like, just because you a millionaire don't mean you don't have problems and you don't have issues. So that's a issue as well.
What do you
just
expect?
Because I'm the world's biggest pig don't mean I'm still not a pig. I might be the world's most famous pig in the world. Like, everybody knows me. I'm the pig that can talk and do backflips. But at the end of the day, I'm a pig. So don't matter how much notoriety, how much material gain that you have in this world, if you still disrespect me and talk to me like I ain't nobody, that's how you truly see.
I want to have a question. What do you expect in such an environment?
That is what
it's not an environment of philosophy. No, all they think of is dollars. And it has nothing to do with the color of skin. It's just a mentality of that business environment. You look, as they say to a black man, that they say to their own, you know, or the wife or the husband. No, you don't look. You don't expect anything. I don't expect anything better from them. That's why I just say it's their own language. If you say it to you, you say it to him too. You tell me, look, yeah, you said without me you can't be anything, because that is the language they understand.
It is an unfortunate proof of the world we live in. I will agree to you on that. But because it goes so deeply against the grain of our human nature, we are going to forever go against it, and we're going to forever do what we need, do what we do, and do what we need to do. So we're like water. You can keep pushing us all you want to, but we're going to go how we need to go. And you can build as many little rivers and moats and dams and hydro plants as you want to. We still control the flow. We still gonna go where we need to go. And we gonna do what we need to do. So saying things like that is a detriment and counterproductive.
But it's the language of that environment.
Yeah,
it's the language. It's the language of that environment.
Okay.
You have to know how to answer back. You have to answer back. If it's you say, look, no, without me, you can't get anything.
We're not stating that LeBron himself answered back. He eventually did make a statement on it. Eventually. But once the statement was initially made, we're talking at least 30 days. Them first 30 days before he made his statement, the speaker of the statement caught hell from everyone else in the world because that statement did not need to be made. That statement hurt that individual. That statement was counterproductive to the benefit of their financial gain. And in hood terms, they fucked up their money by running their mouth too much. They ain't have to say that. And that's the
Yeah,
that's
no,
the
I don't.
you can have that thought. You can have that thought, but you don't have to express it. Keep it to yourself.
It is wrong, but it is the language of that environment because he has no other expression. There's nothing there. So it's only using the late things got inside the head.
The language of America, especially when you're a celebrity and you're dealing with celebrities or you're out in the public eye in any facet, you're out in the public eye. The language of America is watch what you
celebrities.
Say. Everything you say will fuck with your money. No, we're not just speaking of celebrities. I mean every facet. If you're an interviewer, if you're just the person holding the mic, because Bragg and Teach can attest as well. We've seen many interviewers and anchormen and anchor women who have caught a lot of trouble for things that they've done extracurricularly or things they said when they thought they were off the mic. So it's any level of being out in the public eye. But once you're out there, watch what you say. You don't say things that could that anybody might get offended by. Because if somebody get offended by it, that messes with your money.
That comes under.
I'm waiting for Teach.
Okay. Well, when I hear that, the first thing is evoked in me is that long memory, and that indeed those set of words create microaggression, and that is an attack and a slander against the character. And that long memory, that is what they use when they use the whip to make us work, because we were body, we were not mind. And they have a whole selection of books of how they wrote that the slave was simply body. And I think I talked about it in one of the segments. We were back, feet, and hands. Our feet moved us to where we need to do down the row. Our back bent over, our hands picked the cotton. That's all we were. We didn't, from here on up, we didn't exist. We didn't have a mind. We didn't have any self-determination. We didn't have any self-direction. All we had was our feet, our back, and our hands, and that was to pick the cotton. So for modern day, we're no longer in the cotton fields, but we're on the playing fields. We're in the service of others that helps their income, that makes their income. And so it is a racist remark. And it comes up in our memory. And that's why we react to it maybe differently. If they told a white player that, they're like, oh man, you're just kidding me, because he doesn't have that memory that he's drawing on. So he would receive it much different. But 9 times out of 10, it'll never be said to him. And that's why specifically it is a microaggression committed against the person that hears it.
Well, and this is where I step in. I'm going to end this segment on this. Definitely when it's pertaining to sports. For anybody, I'm going to use what's happened with Bubba Watts, because people are saying that it's the Jesse Smollett 3.0. And NASCAR was like, oh, so you think it's just Jesse Smollett? Fine. They gave the picture. And if anybody saw that noose, it won't know freaking, because like they will be tied like that so they can bring the garage door down. That was not a good garage door pull. That was a noose. That was a noose. And they saying, well, keep Black Lives Matter out of sports, or Kaepernick, stand up. People don't understand that me as a veteran, also Mr. Bragg as being a veteran, there was a veteran that told him, actually Kaepernick contacted him, like, what in the way can I do to not show disrespect to the flag or to the veterans? He said, take a knee. And that's exactly what he did. And everybody was criticizing this man, and they don't realize, just like with LeBron James and that freaking reporter, her name was Laura Ingraham, who took Bill O'Reilly's show, Let's Keep It Real, and he flipped it and made it famous, which made her look stupid, going back to what Beast Johnson was saying. But going back to Colin Kaepernick, now he's going to be right there with Muhammad Ali. He's going to be right there with him because of all this, because what he stood for. He sacrificed his job, a secure job at that, to do all those things. And also all the players that continue to take a knee and to continue to take a stand for inequality of people that look like all of us on this panel and on this show, and who's watching the show as well. And they say, take politics out of it, take politics out of it. What, you're afraid to talk about race? You're afraid that inequality is going on and that you choose to ignore it because you like us bouncing the ball, shooting it, dunking it, getting a touchdown, doing those end zone dances, but you don't see no problem with that? How many head coaches, Bragg, help me out. How many head coaches are in the NFL right now that's coaching currently right now? I can name what? You got the one with the Dolphins. You got you got the Steelers.
Yeah, I don't know right offhand how many exactly, but it's very minute.
Right. I would say 3. Mm-hmm.
I say half a dozen. I give you half a dozen across the league.
And then you also got to think about it for yourself too. You also got to think, what about general managers? Where's the owners? And it goes back to what Mr. O was saying. He said, why put yourself in the, I paraphrase what he's saying, why put yourself in a situation where you know that's the only way to go? That's your only available option. It's just to put on the jersey and play. Bruise your body, get concussed. And me as a sports fan, I think majority of this panel are sports fans. But they going out sacrificing their lives and they freaking bashing their heads in. And none of them up C3. And none of them are owners of a team. Have you ever had a black NFL commissioner or a black commissioner of any other leagues? None. So right there tells you.
We used to have the Negro leagues.
Yep.
Baseball and football.
Because you remember at one time, black people.
But then the white league wasn't making no money. So they said, we got to integrate.
Mm-hmm. And so you had.
Well, that was during the time. That was during the time where everything black psychologically had to give up their space. We used to own businesses, but they say, let's assimilate. Let's just be like white people and sell our businesses. And they sold out all their businesses. And now what? Now we have nothing.
And so, you should have employed white people instead of selling your businesses.
Mm-hmm.
And the press was in that time is for acceptance to be assimilated, meaning that you give up. And that's what they did.
Then there were no leaders to enlighten. What you do, if I know black business, you should have employed white people. That's the way. You don't give up your own. The white man does not give up his own. I mean, white Caucasian, of course. No, say your business. Employ the black, employ the white man. Yes. Employ him.
But that was what happened here.
Well, I mean, we have to start businesses and employ them to serve us. I mean, it's a free market.
What teacher's saying is we did that. And back to my earlier point, in the 3 areas I named were prevalent in all black business owned areas, thriving black business areas. And the white man said, to quote the line from Belly, I don't like that shit.
Yeah. And so to end on this topic, to go back to the NASCAR point, NASCAR showed the government, showed this country how you're supposed to take a situation like this seriously and work on it just like that.
nip it in the bud, get in front
That
of it.
is so crazy because NASCAR always had the Confederate flag. They was always deeply rooted in the South. Yes, because it was created in the South. But look how fast they took care of it. That's the thing that blows my mind. And people gotta understand, it was not Bubba Wallace who saw that. It was a NASCAR official that saw that in his garage. And for NASCAR to be like, oh snap, this is not gonna fly. And them jumping on it, having the FBI jump in and do their investigation, saying that it wasn't a noose, but then you gotta think, look who's running the FBI, just saying.
Look,
The
you
point
shouldn't.
was NASCAR jumped in and they did what they had to do, and they showed America what needed to be done. And I'm just going on that. But yeah, Beast Johnson, go ahead and add on it, and then we're gonna go to the next one.
You shouldn't be surprised because NASCAR, to me, NASCAR is like the Vatican. They one of the few institutes in the world that know the truth. They were started and founded and structured by black folk. They just couldn't publicly acknowledge it until the right black folk got around. Now we got the right black folk. We in the right time. They can be upfront with it. Come on, like I said earlier, the act of transporting moonshine was done mostly by black men in them cars. So the early racers were black racers before the white dudes got in.
No, there's no doubt about that. There's no doubt that even anthropologists and archaeologists have said it, that we are the father of all races. So there's no doubt. And the thing is that we have to looking forward and stand upright. We should confront our problems, and but really we should not blame others. Let us look inwards. If you hit me, I hit you. It's not question of color of skin. So you know what I mean,
go ahead. Finish your thought, Mr. O.
Yes. So the thing is that if we play a race card, it's sign of weakness, calling for pity. No, let us call it a human problem. When you step on me, I hit you. I step on you. As there's one song in my tribe in Nigeria, I would say, "Odumandu Bode," say, "You do me, I do you." That is the thing. A God, not a verse. They say, you do me, I see Odumandu Bode. You do me, I do you. God, not a verse. That means yes. That's what they say in Nigeria. So it's not, we are a complex tribe. You might imagine. Not like we're talking about white and black here. We have Yoruba, the Orobo, the Igbo, the Hausa. We have our own diversity too. But so that was say that look, let us remove the color from it and stand upon justice. That is what MLK stood for. MLK stood for justice.
So just to let y'all know, I'm about to have diversity on this show. I'm about to have Dan join the show, so he will give you his perspective. I'm about to send him the link right now. I'm just going to let y'all all know that he's going to come on the show, and he's going to join in. So while we're waiting for him to come in, I got another one for y'all. And this was a doozy. Whites were slaves too.
Yes, correct. Even before us.
Were.
Thousands of years ago. Greeks, Romans, Europeans, they enslaved themselves for thousands of years ago. It's in history. It has been part of their culture, slavery. Together with the Arabs and the Asian up to Persian, it has been the Phoenicians. They have been doing slavery of each other for thousands of years. In case of our own in Africa, well, the victims were those who are neighboring to them. But those of West Africa, we betrayed our own. That is why. If not, they would not have fallen. So the whites have been slaves. Many years. They have their history.
So let me do a quick introduction. I'm gonna have y'all go back in your discussion. Everybody, this is Dan. If y'all remember him from the last show, he came on the last end of the show. Dan, here's the panel. Alan Bragg,
Hi, Dan.
Anita Job, aka Teach, and then our special guest, Mr. O. So going back to the topic, it was whites were slaves too. So I'm going ahead and step on out. So go ahead and continue.
What were you about to say, Teach?
Oh, as far as whites were slaves too, yeah, historically, yes, they have been. But right now we're talking about American history, and I don't recall in any textbook where whites came to the United States as slaves. Now, they may have come as indentured servants, and they had 7-year terms, which 7 years they were emancipated and they could be free in the society, even to owning land. So yes, whites have been enslaved throughout history, but in America it has never happened. They were indentured servants, which after 7 years they could be manumitted.
That's not true.
Well,
That's
my
not,
thoughts
in fact,
would be simply that, A, so what? You're right. It
but
happened.
no,
Whites, like
they
everybody else, were slaves.
they were slaves.
My question would be, what makes their slavery different from ours, and why would you acknowledge theirs but not acknowledge ours?
No, let me come in, please. Let me come in, please. In fact, there may possibly have been more white slaves in the Americas than blacks. Whites were slaves because Oliver Cromwell ordered Irish boys and girls from 10 to 14 to be captured and sent as slaves to the Caribbean. In fact, I'm here now, on my computer, I'm just seeing now some images even of Irish even prisoners carried and sent to the Caribbean. There were many before blacks were enslaved. The thing is that they could not stand the climate. They were very lazy. So the black man was stronger and became more.
Prisoner slaves will not be counted, because we do know that that most colonial whites and whites that arrived in other countries originally were prisoners or criminals to some extent.
That is one thing,
Or
and then
they were deemed unworthy by the general.
Yes, that is true. Also, they were slaves from Ireland between 10 and 14 years in the Caribbeans. They were yes.
But we're talking about the United States.
But also
geographically, we're talking about the United States.
That's it. Also extended to United States. It also extended to United States. It's just that when blacks started arriving, that gave them a way out.
It goes back to my point. You're right. The point is, that's the question I asked. Yeah, so what? There were whites here. So what? There were white slaves. So what? There was white slaves. That's apparent in all. That's apparent in all the history that the white man has forced us to learn, that white people were in fact slaves. So this issue of slavery is a global thing. Yes, Mr. O. But what teachers is speaking on, and really what we're speaking on, is the specific issue of slavery within America. So we're talking about it from a geological national sense. When it comes to the issue of slavery here, how was it operated? How was it been handled? Even in the aftermath, how was everyone been affected as a result of it? That's what we're speaking on. When we speak on slavery, we're speaking on solely slavery here, because we do acknowledge, and everyone in the world acknowledges, that slavery happened everywhere else. But few countries and few people truly acknowledge the depths of the slavery that happened in America. We know of the tragedies of slavery, of slaves in Africa and other nations. We know of the brutality and the barbaric natures, but few want to acknowledge that same barbarous nature within American soil. And and that's the issue, and that's what we're really speaking on. That's the stem of it. Anybody else want to jump in?
Well, wow, that ended on a very I don't know. So we nipped that in the butt. So here's my take on it. Yes, there were white slaves, but let's be for real. They're still profiting off of my ancestors and making tons and tons and tons, and I mentioned tons of money. And unfortunately, a lot of those establishments that were like insurance companies to insure the slaves, crazy. They insured slaves before they insured cars, even though cars didn't exist back in the day. But just like that,
It was a business. It was a business.
yeah, just like that. Just think about it. Yeah, and which I agree with you, Mr. O. And you just gotta think about that. They insured human beings, and now those same companies are insuring your cars right now that you probably got and don't even realize it. Like Wells Fargo, I bank with Wells Fargo. Wells Fargo had their
They could change the name. They could change the name is bothers you. They change the name.
Yeah.
You know what the former Prime Minister of Israel, Aban Eban, wrote in his book, life must be lived forward and understood backwards.
Yeah,
that could be my advice.
Yeah, and so my take is, and also what Teach and what Beach Johnson was saying, that it's I mean, it's crazy to know that all the businesses that we are probably putting our money into existed back in those days, and they were endorsing slavery. Doesn't mean that they had slaves, but they were endorsing it. So whites, no matter if they were a slave or not, they are still benefiting off the black backs of slavery. And for you to say that whites were slaves, what are they like?
The insurance, the blacks were not the first to be insured, because those ships were carrying goods. It was the goods that were insured before they start carrying black people or slaves as goods. So
just the matter of fact, they got done.
All right. So now we go on to the next subject, and this one right here is going to hit, not going to hit hard, but yeah. I am not my ancestors, and I don't own slaves.
I like how you just disappear. Yes, they are not their ancestors, but in the case of the family of the Massengills, the owners of Barclays Bank, and I can go on and on, MetLife, yes, you may not be your ancestor, but every dollar you spend came from slave money in 2020. So, no, you may not be like them. You did not own slaves, but your inheritance came from slave money. And that in lies the difference. And I can say that I'm not my ancestors. But my grandmother told me if she worked those fields, her mother and her mother before her and her father and father before him, they said, Anita, get my money. They didn't pay me while I was alive, but you are alive to receive it. And that's where I stand on the case of reparations. It is my inheritance.
That will get nowhere.
I take that as a case-by-case situation, to be honest. That's not a broad statement that you can put on every white family or white descendant of slavery, because true, a good number of them, the smart ones, they're still making money off of us, but there's an equal amount of disproportionate former slave owners that through the generations became just as disenfranchised as the blacks. So to those that fall under the latter category, of being more redneck or white nigga, as some of us in the South call them. I understand it, and as long as you don't share the same original sentiments of your heritage, you can acknowledge where you came from. I acknowledge that my ancestors were slaves here. Doesn't mean that I'm going to act in the manner of my ancestors. I'm not going to have the same mentality of that of my ancestors. I will learn from their ways and learn from their actions, but I'm not going to do them. Yes. So as long as you share that same mentality, yeah, you could be the descendant of Hitler, but as long as you ain't trying to act like him and be the second coming, you and me is cool, bro. No issue.
Yeah. Yes. So I agree with you. I agree with you.
Well, if I may.
Go ahead, sir.
So my grandmother, like I told Beast and Donnell the other night on the show, my grandmother, my dad's mother, married my grandfather after World War II, and they met in Austria. So she grew up and witnessed them come marching in and all the atrocities that happened. So in my case, I'm not my ancestors in the sense of I'm just going to, give into the fear of the mob or whatever. If I see injustices toward my fellow man of any walk of life, I'm not just going to stand by and watch it happen. My grandmother cried in front of me and told me, don't let them take your guns. Don't let them take your freedom of speech. I watched my friends disappear and they never came back. She said, always stand up for what's right. So in my instance, I'm fully with that. I'm not my ancestors. I'm not just going to sit back and watch the bullshit happen. And as far as the ancestors in America, mine were all poor farmers. So they actually were sharecroppers. They were given the house on the aspect of they worked the land and gave all the money to the people that own the land. So where my family came from in Maryland to where I am now, we're doing pretty good. But as far as my ancestors, my grandmother, she told me a lot of those stories growing up, and I took it to heart. So that's why you got to speak up, you got to speak out, you got to defend your man. Don't be your ancestors. Learn from the past.
Hey,
I agree.
I'm telling you.
I agree.
Yeah. Damn.
That is what I said. That's what Abba said. Say, life must be lived forwards and understood backwards. Mm-hmm. He was correct. And he being a Jew, he knows his history. So, look, let this life go forward. Right. And we are aware. What happened has already happened. The man who did not own slave cannot pay the person who was not a slave. And generations later, no. Put it the other way around. If a black man, there were blacks that own slaves, white slaves, now look for their descendants and tell them to pay the descendants of those white slaves.
Teacher, I see you shaking your head. Go ahead. I know you about to.
Why is it that when it comes to Black people and the notion of reparations, they are the only people that Black people and white people and maybe even some other people think that they should not get reparations, when historically every race that has been wrong has been paid reparations, and many times it's to the descendants, because the person that suffered the harm is dead.
I don't
want preferential treatment. I don't want preferential treatment in this case. Treat me like you treated the Jews. Treat me like you treated the Native Americans. Treat me like you treated the Japanese.
My brother,
give me reparations like you reparated every other ethnic group.
I agree with her. What
I'm not special.
Well, like Germany did. Germany made the entire nation pay for reparations to the
That's
poor.
this because
Even the
it just
poor.
happened
Even the poor.
to the way.
America
Yes.
didn't want to do that because it was just as many poor white people as it was poor colors, and they didn't want to hurt their own kind. So that's why they've been,
And
dragging
many
their feet.
black people,
That's why they've been dragging their feet on that. What we are asking, and what
It's
we
a
are
complex-
truthfully asking from, we're not asking from you to take the poor white people, the poor white descendants. We are asking for the current institutes, the current financial organizations that are still gaining a profit off of slavery. Those institutes that she spoke
The
of.
immoral fortunes.
Exactly.
Yeah, that's one.
Those
I can agree.
we're going for. Those are the ones
But-
that we are truly demanding, not just the government.
Yes,
We're asking for Johnson
Yeah,
and that Massey and any
that I
other
can agree.
institute that was like that. That's what we're coming for.
Yeah, okay, that I can agree.
We just have to be very clear in our wording.
Okay, good. I like that. As regard to those institutions that made money, yes, I agree. We have to see that how is the reparation going to be made? Not to split money among black people. No, to invest them in the black community. That's the thing. That's reparation. It depends upon the institution that made money.
I don't appreciate anybody telling me how to spend my money.
No, you ain't got no money because
I am not illiterate. I'm not unintelligent.
Then you have to.
I am capable of thinking on my own.
You have to prove.
They didn't tell the Japanese how to spend their money. They didn't tell the French how to spend their money. They didn't tell the Native Americans how to spend their money. We cannot assume that we are so unintelligent that we don't know how to spend our money. That is an insult.
The African kingdoms that also sold your ancestors, they too should pay. Not only the white man, Africans that sold them, the Arabs also that kidnapped black people and sold them to America, they should pay too.
Which is why I stated
I want my gold mines. I want my diamond mines. I want my rubber fields. I want my cocoa fields. Yes, I want my land back in Africa.
No, you don't get no land. Go to court and say this is the man that you must identify it. Go and identify who enslaved your ancestor, and you can go to court. But don't come and hold this generation of what happened in generation behind. If people have to pay reparation, Africa too should pay. The Arabs too should pay.
Yes.
That is justice.
Yes, that is justice. I mean, if somebody been occupying that for the longest time and you know it's yours, and they sit there just deferring you, well, according to this paper here, this is mine. No, sir. You need to come correct.
Yeah.
Which goes back to what Cheech was saying on the last show, when she literally said that treaty, that pen to paper, that's what's happening right now.
That's why I said we need to attack the structure and the institutes.
Right. That's exactly what's happening.
Because those know no color. And by attacking that, we will get the Africans and we will get the Arabs, because whoever is in control of it is who we're going for.
Right.
We're not going for all the white people. We're going for all the people that made money off American slavery.
Right.
Well, that's one I can agree. But the thing is that we have to make it institution, because if you want to make it popular, there are many black people today who are also descendants of slave owners. And so it's very complex. The institution, I agree. But when we want to make it global, it is, according to what they say in Nigeria, katakata, it will be trouble.
Mm-hmm. Go ahead, Dan.
So I touched on this the last time with Beast, Johnson, and Donnell.
Mm-hmm.
My concern with reparations isn't anything to do with the money going out. It's nothing to do with that. It's the sincerity behind it.
True.
I don't want the people. I don't want the institutions and all the people that were involved from beginning to end to feel like they can just get off with just throwing some money. Sincerity, honesty, and meaning behind it. You know what I mean? Because like Teach, I've been watching the show a lot. I have great respect for you. First time I've met you. I don't want it to come to
Thank you.
you as an insult. You know what I mean? Like if we're all making a
Yeah.
movie and there's something wrong and we go to the person for help and they say, that's fine, here's some money, fix it. You know, I just don't want it to be like that. I feel sometimes that we forget that there needs to be a good acknowledgement and sincerity behind it. Otherwise, it's just blood money and an empty promise and a, hey, we good? We good? All right, we good. I just don't want it to be that.
But look at everything that's going on. Leave this earthly plane and just go up and look back down worldwide. Everything, we're in a paradigm shift. Things are changing over. A lot of things are being exposed. A lot of things are being torn down. But when all of that is clear, comes the rebuilding. And the thing that we're going to rebuild here in America is the mind of diversity, because we don't have it. And that's what this fight is about, is everybody on their equal footing, standing in their own space. I don't know how it went down with the people of Eatonville. People don't talk about it as much, but this was a Black town in Florida, and this town was totally decimated, just like Black Wall Street. And they paid reparations finally, I think about 10 years ago.
And that's Rosewood, right?
Yes. No. This is Eden. Rosewood was Gainesville.
Oh,
this is
yes.
Eatonville.
Okay.
This is Eatonville. But they totally decimated the city. And they pay reparations to the descendants of. They first, there's a step, there's a process. I believe the first step is acknowledgement. The second step is the apology. The third step is making the amends. That is the reparations. And then hopefully the fourth step is society moves on from that place. That's where they go to erect the museums to remind us of that atrocity.
Yeah. So yeah. Go ahead, Teach. I'm sorry.
So even you see with the protesting now, corporations are saying, hey, we're going to give $100,000 to the United Negro College Fund, or we're going to give, $100,000 here or $1 million here. They're paying out money towards education or different things.
Yeah, because right now,
they're putting their money up, whether it's sincere or not. Time only tells that, because you can put on a sincere face. But if next year that same Negro that graduated from college come to you with an engineering degree, graduated in the top of his class, and your department is all white, and you just can't seem to hire him, but you hire someone else that has less qualifications, were you really sincere? You had the money to throw around. So
yeah, Pepsi company said
I can't get caught up on how they feel or why they're giving the money. All I know is my grandmother told me I need to get my money. And what I do with it is our family business.
Right. Go ahead, Brad.
Pepsi company just came out and said they were going to give 100 black people executive type jobs. They're going to put, open up 100 positions. It's kind of like, well, why now? Why wasn't that already in place to where we had an equal opportunity to succeed in those areas? It's like, why we have to go through all this death, George Floyd, Black Lives Matter protests for companies now to stand up and say, hey, we're going to start doing the right thing.
Right.
I think it's going further, to be honest with you.
Well, you see, that does not make me happy, because now they give black people jobs out of mercy. That is not. We should know how to fight, like in sports. We should know how to fight for our position and not look for sentimentalism.
Right.
Well, that's the question that we're kind of pulling.
Even if the whole executive is black today, it is because some people died. We cannot. Can that return the life of those people who are dead? We need to have our own self pride. We fight for a position to get it, and not out of mercy.
But but in America, many companies and many people have the mindset of taking advantage. So I look at
it's a free market. It's a free market with all the millionaires black people have. We can set up corporation.
But the problem is they wasn't giving black people those opportunities. They were passing
there are black millionaires in the US. There are many black millionaires in the US.
I'm saying that these things were obviously already done. But due to the fact of George Floyd and all the publicity that's coming out as a result of it, they're just showcasing stuff that they're already doing. Like she spoke about the $100,000. That's probably what they give anyway. That's like their bare minimum in order to get tax credit.
Right.
So they're probably already doing it every year, but now nobody knows about it though. But now you got all this publicity. $100,000 sounds real good to the public ear. We donated $100,000. We do that every year. That's in the budget, but they don't know that. We could take this opportunity, put that out there. Now we look even better because something we was already doing. We just told people we was doing it and use all this leverage and coverage off somebody's death. So now everybody associates the death with us and how sincere we are and how we care. We don't give two shits about that nigga.
Right. Come spend your black dollar at our company. Come on. Give us your money because we care.
No. Bring more of your money.
Right.
That's what it really boils down
to. Let us stop playing the race card. America is a free country. Let us stop playing the race card. Let us fight for our position as we did in sports. Let us fight for position. The race card make us look inferior. That because of all this, then they give us the position because we're not worth getting it.
Here's the problem.
But look at this. Look at this.
Race card is not something we play. The race card is something that's always in effect. And every so often, we are blessed with the opportunity. Every so often we get around that board and we either throw doubles or we hit the right card, and we now can use the race card to our benefit. But that race card was always there from the second the fucking game got started. Yep. It's just now we've gotten so smooth and we done went around the game so many damn times. We done lost so many times, had to restart so many times. We got better at playing the race card. Access.
You know what? When you play the race card,
so you can't put that on us. You got to stop that. That's not to you, for everybody. The race card is not something we play. The race card, we use like everybody else when it benefits us. Most of the time, race card is used against us. Every so often, we get left and we get to use it. And when we get to use it, we use it. It's like the get out of jail free card in Monopoly.
No, it will backfire. It will backfire. No. If you use it, it will backfire because it leads to corruption. After you put 50 black people on top, Then they start screwing the black one down there, and when they become those on top are become comfortable, then they have their mouth shut. It will backfire.
This what you
No
got
fun with that fire.
Corruption is
Don't
part
get
of
race
human
card.
Also,
Corruption is human
if y'all
nature.
would let me jump in.
Hey,
Go
let's
Um,
I'm waiting for mine until everybody else get done.
This is directed at Mr. Tibbet.
Yes.
Tibbet. I had it at first. I'm sorry, but I'll practice it. But I partially agree with you when you say that those 100 positions or 50 positions would backfire. It'll backfire in this way. It'll give the illusion of inclusion. And the fact of the matter is, they did a check. They said, oh, we've been talking about diversity and how we're such a diverse group, but we don't have any CEOs. Because why don't we have any CEOs? Because systematically, racistically, we have not hired any blacks. And I bet you those blacks that they hire in those positions, resumes have been on file for the last 10 to 15 years. They're just not going to grab these people out of a hat. These people's resumes have already been submitted. This is a statement of systematic racism.
No, we are
this
part
is
of
what
the problem.
systematic racism looks like. And
we are
then
part of
the problem.
And we are part of the systematic racism. We are part of it.
We are. We are.
We are.
And especially those
so we have to start from
those
inside.
CEOs, wait a minute. Well, let me finish my point. And those CEOs that take those positions and they make them 6-figure salaries. Maybe it might be the first time they've made 6 figures. And they're gonna be like the Morgan Freemans of the world. I made it, now you get yours. And that is the that's the backlash.
Yeah, and so
because
it's what look when you see a black man responding to the powerful, dealing with younger black people, you'll be sorry for us. That's why I say fight for the position.
Yeah,
don't use red.
Yes, because they're going to be in the mode. They're going to be in the token black man mode to protect his heavily guarded position. Remember, they applied for that position 10 years ago. It took them 10 years to get that position. So now they're in the mode, I have to protect my position. I'm not going to let another black man, another black woman get me out of my job.
No, I prefer Coca-Cola. There are many black billionaires in the US. About 10 or 20 of them should group together and buy percentage of Coca-Cola. And then they put that man on top. Yes, that is the game.
Yeah.
No, yes, that is the thing. But not this whitewash. No, there are black people with money. They should group together and tell Coca-Cola, look, I want shares. Boom, 20% shares.
Mm-hmm. And yeah,
yes.
And Mr. O, I see it from your point. I see exactly what you're saying. You already got, these brothers and sisters that's already in these positions, these top positions that can make the move. So and I see that point. But to go into what Teach and what Beast Johnson and even Brad was saying, still that's not enough, because this actually these corporations showed their hand when all these deaths and all these craziness was going on. They was like, oh snap. I remember when they were saying that we needed more black people in our executive staff. Let's go ahead and get that person. The person that sent that resume up like 8 months ago. Let's go ahead and bring them up.
Still working. Hey, Malcolm still working.
Shaquisha.
Let me talk to you.
Shaquisha that went to Hampton University. That one. Yeah, get her. So they Yeah, so it goes back to that illusion of inclusion.
And they use them to screw up other black people.
Right. And then if you look at McDonald's, remember they used to have that black CEO who said, "Hey, look, I started from flipping burgers and look where I'm at now." I still remember that commercial.
Nigga,
I still remember that.
I know many a successful man.
It's just
I ain't
marketing.
never seen somebody. I don't know too many successful. I know some successful folk, but nobody that successful off of flipping burgers and dropping fries.
Well, but, hey, Dan, do you know anybody that's been successful that flipped burgers that became a CEO?
They forget about the community.
But see,
4,500 off flipping burgers.
Like, yeah. So like, even though it may sound from people who's listening and watch your show right now, it may sound like they far apart, but we are just like this.
Yes.
What we're talking about, and it is crazy. Even though we're very passionate about what we're, it's like, oh, y'all argue. No, this is why I'm the mediator and I'm a host for a reason. We are like this with what we're saying, because it should not, going back to what Brad was saying, it should not take somebody dying, not even somebody, us dying, for them to be like, oh, I'm going to give money to the United Negro Fund. Oh, now I'm going to start endorsing HBCUs now. I'm going to start giving a lot of money. What happened if they already was giving out money? It's just saying that let's just make it known, even though we've been doing it anyway. Let's just let it be known so they don't see us as a racist company, which goes back to the consumer.
That is the way they operate.
Right.
That is the way. There is no more news media in the world that is free. They're all bought.
Right. And so for us as a consumer, we are the top consumer. I don't give a damn what anybody say. We're the top consumer, not just America, but the world, Craig. Not just America, but the world. The world. Nobody heard nothing about Gucci. Nobody heard nothing about Gucci until hip hop stars started doing something about Gucci. Nobody heard nothing about FUBU until, like I said, for us, by us, until rappers started wearing it.
Let's get a black rapper walked around in pink
and
in
made
the color pink, and made every non-black person, including 20% of the black youth, walk around in pink from head to toe. I've seen grown men in pink from head to toe. From the back, they look like a dyke dude, a dyke chick. Turn around, and it's a 27-year-old dude with a full beard, but he got pink boots on, a pink shirt, pink fitted, with some pink in it. What got the AKA colors on some Timbs? Pink and green with pink.
And
like a walking strawberry starburst.
Mm-hmm.
Black folk, if we do it, y'all gonna rock with it. If we do it and we act with the right confidence, yes, we can sell anything, and you will buy anything. Why? Because
it's marketing. It is marketing. Right. They have psychologists that lecture them how to prepare the marketing.
Yeah,
we have to go into that playing ground.
Historically, well, I will speak biblically and say ye are the salt of the earth. But if you go back into the archives, one of the fears that the slave masters had was that his children would take on the culture of the blacks. So whatever blacks exhibit, they're going to gravitate to it. They're going to explore it. They're going to enjoy it and exploit it. That has always been a part of this society, that whatever a black person does, the white person is going to mimic, is going to follow, it's going to be found in popular culture.
Look at how many of them are big Michael Jordan fans. Look at how many of them are LeBron James fans. Look at how many of them are Emmitt Smith fans. Look at how many of them are when he was in his right mind. Number 84 that used to play with your team, who used to play for the Steelers.
Oh, Antonio Brown.
Yes, Antonio Brown. Thank you. They look up to people, to athletes, not people, to look up to athletes like that. I mean, everything we touch it, you know it's gonna last forever. That's why when Brad, when you brought up Pepsi, knowing that I'm a big Coke fanatic, it took me back to when I came back from a history lesson that I learned from the Tom Jones in the Morning Show, where a guy by the name of Duke Ellington, because Coca-Cola was kicking Pepsi's ass way back in the day. Duke Ellington,
a great job.
He literally, they endorsed him. They put his picture out there, and the numbers went up for Pepsi. And I think during that time, Duke Ellington was in front of Pepsi. Pepsi was like #1 at one time. They was on top of the world one time. And then Coca-Cola was like, what are we doing wrong? So then they started to look at black entertainers and black athletes to endorse their brand, which put them back #1.
That's it.
Yeah, and here's the sad thing about hearing that about Coca-Cola, about them hiring more people and more jobs. More black people drink Pepsi more than Coca-Cola. You have to go to Atlanta to see a lot of people drinking on Coca-Cola. But outside of that, even here, when you go to black establishments, I would get more Pepsi products, even though I tell them, yo, give me the Sierra Mist, you know, I don't like Pepsi. They go for Pepsi.
Like, no, because it's publicity, it's marketing. It's marketing.
Yeah. And then
you look at the market and you go for it.
Right.
That
and
is what it's about.
Like
that is what capitalism is about.
Right. And like with Chevrolet, I mean, like me, I'm a Ford fanatic, but I got a car like it is. Every time you go up in the hood, what's the one thing you see? You're going to see a Chevy. You're going to see a box Chevy. You're going to see a Suburban. You're going to see a Tahoe. 9 times out of 10,
about Chevys.
And they're going to be riding low. Every time you go into a black neighborhood, if you want to see how America is and who's really making money, go into a black neighborhood. Don't go to a suburban neighborhood. Go to a black community. Go there. That's where the money is, and they know it. It's
marketing. It's marketing. Marketing. You don't go and sell. You don't sell food to hungry people. You go to where the cash is. The door is. And you sell it to them. It's marketing.
Yeah, but don't market for my black dollar,
like
but don't and then ignore me when it's time to hire me. If my money is good enough for you, then my brain is good enough for you.
Right. And that's all I come down to.
I say black people should become enterprising. But first they have to be educated. They need education. They need a good family structure. They can make it in the US. Look, if black people, if they stand on family values and also educate their children, in 50 years' time, there will be racism in the US, but it will be the other way around. America is a land of opportunities. If black people seize the opportunity, but we have to begin from home. No, there's no way you can have progress with so many broken homes. No, living on social security. No, they need to make all the sacrifice and build homes and build family. I'm happy that already the campaign is on in the US already of family values in the black man. I'm informed because I'm very much in touch with the US. And I'm also the Black Star Project that is educating boys. I'm very happy too for that. Because you don't expect a highly educated girl to marry an illiterate boy. So.
Hey Dan, you got the floor and you got the final word before we go into the final thought.
It's easy to say about starting with education and all that and everything else, but you got to look at the certain cities. Memphis, Chicago, LA, New York, even Miami. When you take a group, because like I talked about before, everyone talks about what happened a long, long time ago, which we should never forget about. But the last 50 years, they built housing projects as part of the New Deal and then put people there and left them there for 2-3 generations. 2-3 generations of being forgotten about, disenfranchised, bad schools, teachers getting a paycheck instead of giving a damn. You kind of got to look at what you're given rather than, like I know everybody wants to say pull yourself up by your bootstraps, and that's understandable if you want to feel that way. But you got to look at what you're given at the start. like B said, then played the game a couple times. If you keep playing the game and you keep getting the same crappy hand, school sucks.
That's what
Neighborhood ain't that
Einstein said.
safe. Police are assholes. You kind of got to look at the surroundings of the stadium.
Right.
You know, you kind of got to look at it like that. Because there's still neighborhoods in LA that are still the same damn way. So how can we make it better all around to improve moving forward? Because you can't just keep pushing people onto a battlefield and just expect the same result. Like, just go that way. You gotta, you know, that's how I feel about that. You got to start from the ground up as far as the community.
All right.
And what
Yes,
goes into the community and who's teaching the community, and make
correct.
sure the teachers are involved and they're
Yes,
invested.
that is true.
That's what you got to start with.
From the
So if
community.
you think about Memphis, if you look at Memphis, you had projects in Memphis that literally had 3-4 generations of people. After 2-3 generations, even the nicest of the nice and the hardest of the hardest working are eventually going to look around and go, F this, I'm done. I'm done y'all screwing me over, and now we're going to go this way.
Well, real quick before we go into a final thought, Brad, he had to leave. He will be back on Monday. It's happy to have him back after a long hiatus. So, but he did bring in one of his guests and all that stuff. But now it is time that we head into our final thought. I know we went over a little bit, but then again, it was my fault. I was late. Nobody was late. It was me. I put it on myself.
Don't worry.
But first of all, I'd like to thank the panel and also Dan for coming on the show. And also, Mr. O, you are always welcome on this show. I would love to have you back.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Anytime you want me, you invite me and I will connect. Huh?
Got you.
Anytime you want. For me, it's very important to exchange opinion with you. And I thank our sister Anita really for inviting me. Although we have differences, but I love you. You're my sister. So anytime you have a show, you let me know. If I can, I will join.
All right. So, but you will start off with us with the final thought. So, you ready?
Yes, I am. I'm very grateful that you have invited me.
Mm-hmm.
And this matter of blacks, let us understand that it touches all of us, no matter across the races.
Right.
It is time we move forward.
Right.
It is time we embrace others. We need each other, whether we like it or not. So as a final, I want to say, just as this Dan said, let us begin from the community.
Right.
And is that let us? I know I've seen blacks already saying it from community. Then once we settle it, in 50 years' time, it's another people that will be shouting racism, not blacks.
Yeah.
So I hope we can continue. I can continue to participate in your program, and I will continue to give my opinion. Thank you very much.
Mm-hmm. All right. So now let's go ahead and get into that final thought, Mr. O. You will have the floor after this.
It has been very enriching exchanging views with all of you, and you keep the flag flying. That is to the host. I tell you, keep the flag flying, and call on me anytime you want me to give my opinion. I'll be more than happy to give my opinion. Greetings to all of you. I wish all of you Godspeed. May God bless you all. Thanks.
Oh, well, it's me.
My final thought after this whole discussion, I'm reminded of one of my favorite anime movies is Full Metal Alchemist. For those that aren't aware of it, it's basically about two brothers, one, the eldest Edward, the youngest Alphonse, using magic to try to bring back the dead. That's the basic premise. But in this movie, there's a scene where a young girl has died, and the sight of it causes the younger brother to try the same act that was already attempted before, knowing good and well that the results would not go. And the elder brother stopped him, and he explained to him that even though you had good intentions doing this, even though you had your own personal reasons for doing what you're doing, we still got to this point. So stop your crying. Accept your part of this. Stand up and move forward so we can fix it. Black people, white people, all people. This is what the fuck we need to do. Yes, it happened. It's tragic. All of it's tragic. But we need to acknowledge that it happened. And we need to get up, stop our crying, and we need to move forward and make sure it don't happen again. That's my thought.
My final thought is going to be always ask the questions, especially the ones that you're afraid of the answer. Because an honest question is always a good thing. To all the people that are out there that are watching this, that go to protests, and you see the young kids out there, and I'll say it, the young white kids, talk to them. Make sure they're there for the right reason. Make sure they understand. You know, I'm old enough to understand as much as I can because of what I've read and learned and everything else. These younger kids, through social media and desensitization and everything else, they may not truly understand. And if you have to make them a little uncomfortable, make them a little uncomfortable. Make sure they understand the true meaning behind it, and they're not just there to be there. Make sure it's right. And then if the, you know, to all the kids that are protesting, and to all the, you know, the white folks out there that have, ask the questions, just ask the questions and understand and listen. Empathy, understanding, sincerity. Hear, understand, not in one ear, out the other, actually pay attention. And then you know what, too? Get in your car, drive to your closest city, and just drive through the city and see and look. Roll your window down and listen to the city. Observe. Because the things that people might have told you all is hunky-dory is not all hunky-dory. We got to build this together, but if you don't know what's going on, you're not going to help. And right now, we need everybody to help that we can. That's all I got for this evening.
Okay. I would like to end the way I started. Self-love, loving yourself, loving into yourself, loving on yourself brings about self-determination, self-identification, and self-sufficiency. I think educationally, all should partake in the educational system that we have. But beyond just looking for a job, I think we should look how to create a job. I think this pandemic is kind of pushing a lot of people into creating income for themselves, taking to the internet, thinking outside of the box. This pandemic is causing us to stop and actually do a Sankofa, go back and pick up the gems of the past so that we can go forward. Each and every one of the races in the United States have a responsibility for their part in this big melting pot. We all have a responsibility, and to hide our heads in the sand is not responsible. Let's recognize it for what it is. Pepsi is making a stand, even though is because of this and not because they were practicing diversity. They're looking at themselves and say, hey, we really are not as diverse as we claim to be. So let us right this wrong. So they're offering these positions, and I pray that they're not 1-year positions, or I pray that they're positions that these people really can get into and make a livelihood, get a pension, and retire. Versus go there for a year or two and they say, see, we fulfilled it, and you just don't fit our bill. You don't fit into our culture. These are things that people say. But I'm hoping, I see the bigger picture. I truly believe that we're going through a painful time in our in our society, and that is going to bring about the change that we all can celebrate. As I have said so many times, it has been the African Americans that have pushed the envelopes on diversity in this nation. And so this is just another envelope that we're pushing, and that every race in this country will benefit, and other people of the world will model after us. So I see all these things, though it may not look good, it may not feel good, but nothing that that's going to bring a change will look good or feel good. There's no war fought that there are no casualties. So we're seeing the casualties, but we're seeing most of all the change in the mindset of America. And that is the thing that we should remember tonight. Good night.
Oh, I'm sorry. Have a little Coca-Cola right there. If this is your first time watching this show, this is what this is all about. You probably heard, oh, are they arguing with each other, or like they look like they off base. But see, this is my goal as a host, to bring it home. Because probably what y'all heard was them getting tense with each other, but I heard was they like this. Everybody had their different views, but guess what? Everybody had their eye on the prize, which goes back to what I always say. Facts are not the truth. The truth is the truth. Facts is what leads to the truth. And all what you heard, what they were saying, were facts and in their own truths that leads to the truth. But didn't again to tell you the truth. There were valid points said by everybody. Valid points that you couldn't even, even if you was so far left or so far right, you couldn't debate it because it's the truth. But this is what this show's all about. And I'm going to keep hitting that home every time when I do this final thought. Tell your friends about this show. I want you to tell people that look like yourself, no matter if you're black, white, Hispanic, I don't care, to watch this show. We have freaking Dan on this show. We had my boy Goza on this show. We also had Mr. O on this show. We also had Mr. Martin on this show. We even had Miss Duckworth, if I say her name right, was on this show. She was an activist. He was an activist. We have a professor. We also got not even a student, but the professor of history on this show. And then a bad boy of mine who happens to be a rapper as well on this show. Nobody's calling each other out names. Nobody's showing no disrespect. See, that's what the other brands want you to tune into. People going at it. People calling each other out names. Then when they go back to their certain sides, they sit there bashing rather than just knowing that they're both looking at the same prize, but maybe somebody's looking at a different prize. Who knows? The media lives for that. We don't. We can dissect the problem all day and every day. And we could get two people with totally two different sides going at it, the whole show, just for your entertainment, and then you walk away with nothing. But here, on here, people are going to say how they feel. But we're going to tell the solutions. We're going to get to solutions. How are we going to get it? Say the solutions, what we need to do, and the plan. Yes, we're going to bump heads, but guess what? Those solutions are going to come out of it. Trust me. That's why I did this show. While everybody else is talking about other things, like the election, and nobody's not even talking about the protests anymore. Nobody's not talking about reparations no more, but we are. Nobody ain't talking about black issues, but we are. White people ain't gonna understand, but we got a show for that, where they can come into our world. Dan is an example. Goza is an example. Be that example. We even offer you to come on the show. No strings attached. This is what Fade to Black is all about. This is why I got this panel. This is why I'm blessed to have this panel. I'm blessed to have people like Dan come on the show. Blessed to have people like Mr. O come on the show. Blessed to have Mr. Martin come on the show. Blessed to have Mrs. Duckworth on the show. Blessed to have Goza on the show too as well. And ladies and gentlemen, we just getting started. Fade to Black is not just no one-hit wonder or one-trick pony. This show is going to keep going until we get what we pay, what we owe. This is not a bill, this is an invoice. We're showing you what you owe. And as long as we're not getting what we owe, this show is going to be on until we do. And that would do it for me, ladies and gentlemen. Once again, I'd like to thank my panel, special guests. Thank you so much. Y'all know what I'm about to ask. Are y'all going to be able to come on the show on Monday?
Of course.
That's suit you, Dan. That's you, so.
What time? What's time on Monday?
I'll be there Monday.
See you Monday.
Yeah, and this time I am not going to be late. Like I said, the blame's on me. But once again, I'd like to thank everybody for tuning into the show. Thank you so much. And I'm going to have to say this because she's been burning up the freaking chat. Casey Smith, you are the MVP. And Tammy Persons, you're the superwoman of the chat as well. Thank y'all for tuning in. Don't forget to tell your mama, your daddy, your grandma, your best friend, even your worst enemy to tune into the show. It's not but real talk here. We don't talk about gossip. We talk about what's actually going on in this country. And now, Mr. O, now the world. Tune in on Monday.
All right.
Like I said, I'm going to be on time this time. Thank y'all once again for tuning in. Thank my panel.
All right.
Once again, for Mr. O as our special guest, Anita Joe, a.k.a. Teach, our boy Beach Johnson, and also my boy Dan, and for yours truly, Donnell Monte Morris. Thank y'all for tuning in. It's been real. Thank y'all. Y'all have a safe weekend. I mean that on the bottom of my heart. And all
right.
Yeah, stay safe.
Good weekend.
Coronavirus out there, please don't be a statistic.
No.
Catch y'all later. Bye-bye.
All right. Bye-bye.